Hi, I'm Stacey Field, Workforce Engagement Coordinator with the Health and Community Services Workforce Council, and welcome again to the Sector Readiness and Workforce Capacity Initiative online module for workforce planning and development. This is session 2 of the module, and in this session we'll be exploring how to use research to identify future demand and service delivery, and how to use this information to design your future workforce. We'll also look at the key elements of profiling your current workforce so you can compare what you have with what you need. The parts of the framework that this session relates to are the forecast and design and understand and analyse phases. These phases are all about establishing an evidence base on which to build a future workforce, and any workforce planning process will spend the majority of time in these phases. So starting with forecast and design, what we consider here is what will be into the future in terms of demand, what this means for services we deliver, and what kind of workforce we will need to deliver those services. When we look at future demand, we need to consider the future population that we'll be delivering services to. At the basic level, we can look at population numbers and projections for regional growth, but we also need to access demographic data that will tell us what this population will look like. Indications are that there will be increased chronic disease, mental health issues and dementia, but each region will have specific characteristics and changes that will occur. The Queensland Government Statistician's Office has tools to assist you in developing a regional profile that's specific to you. It's easy to use, and I'd encourage you to visit their website and have a look at what you can find. Other useful information will require looking around for those big picture themes and issues that will be impacting on your sector and workforce. A PESTEL analysis can help as a starting point to explore the big picture political, economic, social, technological, legal and environmental factors that are most likely going to impact on your organisation and sector into the future. As a first step, you might like to use the PESTEL analysis to brainstorm your ideas and use this as a basis for further research. Further to looking at big picture issues that we know about, we can also begin to look beyond the horizon. This is fundamentally about looking at a range of possibilities and playing with the what-ifs of the future. You can do this by understanding key regional planning initiatives, using scenario thinking models to explore potential futures, and using reliable sources of data to build your understanding of megatrends that might impact on your future. Once you've done this, you can begin to analyse what this will mean for service delivery into the future, and ask what kind of services will be a priority for you to deliver into the future. How will you need to deliver these services? What will quality service delivery look like into the future? It's important to record this information and to link it to the research that you've done about future demand. From this information and the picture we've built of future service delivery, we can then begin to design the workforce your organisation will need to achieve its vision and mission into the future. Start by thinking about the types of roles you'll need. Some might be the same as the ones you've got now, some may be new. For each new and continuing role, you can then identify the specific skills and qualifications you'll require and the desired characteristics for each role. You can create this as a simple table for a start, and later create an organisational chart to show the organisation and interaction of all the roles. What this provides you with is a really clear vision of the workforce you're trying to achieve through your workforce plan. But in order to get there, you need to know what your starting point is, which brings us to our next phase. This phase is all about getting a clear enough picture of your current workforce so you can compare it to the workforce you want. From this comparison, you can identify the assets you want to nurture into the future and the gaps you need to address in your workforce plan. Building a workforce profile can be simple, depending on the available information in your organisation. If you have information on the age, starting date, and qualifications of your staff, you have a great starting point. From your workforce age profile, you can begin to determine if your workforce is older than the industry average by comparing it to that average of 43. If you're in a larger organisation, you might even be able to see trends in different parts of your organisation. For example, you might see that you have a significantly older workforce in your direct service delivery or direct support services team, and a much younger workforce in your admin team. Starting dates and separation dates can help you determine the length of tenure and retention rates. Reasons for separation is also a useful set of data, and all this kind of information is particularly useful information if you can track it over time. Calculating retention is simple. You take the total number of staff, let's say 90, for a time period, let's say 12 months. We'll call this X. Then you take the number of staff who have left in that period, say 12, we'll call this Y. You need to take Y from X, so staff who have left, from total staff, to get remaining staff, called Z. In this case, it's 78. Now divide the remaining staff, Z, by the total staff, X, and multiply this by 100 to get your percentage of retention. In this example, it's 86.6% for that 12 months. This information is great to use as a benchmark if you're hoping to improve retention. If you have past records and can calculate this for the past 3 years or so, you can build a really useful profile and an accurate picture of how your organisation is going with retaining your staff. Other workforce metrics that can help build your picture include employment status, what percentage of your staff are full-time, part-time, casual or temporary, and of course, information about the qualifications and skills of your workforce is essential. A skills audit and/or training needs analysis can help with this, and some of this information might be accessible in records from performance appraisals and training registers. A staff survey or interviews with team leaders or supervisors can help you collect this data if it isn't easily accessible. At this stage, one of the traps to avoid getting into is getting too bogged down in collecting and analysing data on your current workforce. Remember that the goal here is to generate enough of a picture that you can compare your current workforce to the future workforce you designed in the previous phase. From this comparison, you can then identify and list the gaps and issues that you need to address. At this point, you want to identify all of the issues, not just the priorities. It's useful to get a comprehensive picture of all the gaps that exist. Prioritising these gaps for inclusion in your workforce plan is a separate step that we'll go over in the next and final session. So this brings us to the end of this session, during which we've looked at the forecast and design and understand and analyse phases of the workforce planning process. To recap, our main tasks in this phase is to research what the future is expected to look like, analyse what this means in terms of services delivery, and make some decisions about the kind of workforce we need and want for the future. We then identify our workforce gaps by analysing our current workforce and comparing this picture to the workforce we want. Once you've completed these tasks, you'll then have a list of all the workforce gaps for you to address. In the next and final session, we'll look at prioritising the gaps for your workforce plan and building strategies around these. We'll also look at producing, implementing, monitoring and evaluating your workforce plan. I hope you've enjoyed this session, and I'll see you next time.